Welcome to the Northwest. I'm Joshua Ngo, and you are listening to the Tuesday, January 12th, 2021 edition and the first episode of the Northwest Sports Report. Today we're going to be talking about the Seahawks after the regular season. The Seahawks now know their 2021 opponents. We'll break it down in this episode. And a college, after the national championship, how the game affects the NFL draft. So we'll begin with the Seahawks 2021 schedule. So after the Washington win against the Eagles on January 3rd, the schedule is here. So I will start with our home opponents, then I will go into our away opponents. Before that, let me explain how it chooses who we're playing and how we were able to figure out who the Seahawks were playing next season. So basically, the way NFL determines who the Seahawks are playing against is we will play twice against our divisional opponents, which makes 6 home and away. And we'll face one division in the NFC that rotates every 3 years. So this year will be the NFC North division, and it will and the home and away will rotate. So 3 years ago when we faced that division, if it was home, if we played home against them, then we'll play away this year, and vice versa. And we'll also play against 2 teams that have the same, so basically in the NFC East and the NFC South, the division leaders, we will also play. I don't know how home and away works, but we will be playing the Saints at home and the NFC East division winner, which is why it took until the last game of the regular season, the Washington football team, again in 2021. And then the NFL announced that 2021 will have the 17th game, which the CBA, or the NFL Players Association agreed to last year. So the NFL will implement it this year, and that means we will face... Oh, shoot, I forgot. We will play against one division in the AFC, which this year, which will rotate every 4 years, and this year will be the AFC South division against the Titans, Jaguars, Houston, and Colts. Same thing. If we play last against them away, then we'll play home, away. And then for the 17th game, we will play the division leader. Since we won, we'll play against the first place division against the AFC North, which will be the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, they haven't decided who will play home or away, or it could be international or something. So let's get into our home opponents. First up of our division, I can't even remember. The Arizona Cardinals. So we've done well at home against our division. We swept our division at home, just not in a way, is what we do. Not bad. And hopefully by then the fans will go back. But the Cardinals have DeAndre Hopkins, but it doesn't look like they're utilizing many of their wide receivers, but they do they use a lot of wide receivers. Not a lot of tight ends, but mostly the main star of the show is Hopkins. If the Seahawks defense can stop Hopkins, it's pretty easy to set the rest of the wide receivers in line. Think we can beat them, but this hopefully, because NFL doesn't announce the order of the games in our bye week until April, May, usually after the draft. So, hopefully, since the 49ers could rise back to that power, we won't suffer again another late winter upset. Our next game is against the Los Angeles Rams. So I feel like the Rams, which upset us during Wild Card Weekend, did actually good with especially good with their new rookie running back Cam Akers. And we are playing this at home, even with the flop in 2019. Rams do have a chance that they can beat us when Jared Goff gets healthy from that thumb injury, and Aaron Donald could be pressuring Russell Wilson. So this could be one of our losses, but could it also be another easy win? It depends on which Seahawks show up at that point and how the season is going. Next up, at home against the San Francisco 49ers. So we don't know what's going to happen with the Niners, as they did go, I think, 7-9 this year. But they did reach the Super Bowl last 2 years ago. And they have Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle, their star tight end, and pretty easy. It was pretty easy for George Kittle to catch some passes during the 2020 season. We'll see, because I'm previewing these games because the season starts in September and I'm recording this on January. So a lot of questions and a lot of changes could happen with the NFL draft and free agency approaching. So I think I will post towards near the start of the season. I will post probably another podcast episode about this. But right now, looking right now, I feel like Seahawks can beat the 49ers, but they might suffer a close loss after I saw what happened in Week 17. But hopefully we do get a better offensive coordinator, because we need that. I was hoping for Dan Quinn, but he got hired by the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, now with the division for the home, let's go to our rest of our home games against the Chicago Bears. So Chicago Bears lost against the Saints in the wild card weekend in the first Nickelodeon NFL game, which looked pretty good, but again, could have gone better, and there's just so many Nick references. It was like they were paid $1 every time they made a Nick reference, which I'm pretty sure they did, they would be rich. So the Chicago Bears keep on flip-flopping between Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. I would think that Trubisky would start over there, but other than that, just with Jimmy Graham, our former tight end, nothing to it. They did go 8-8 this season, and I don't see any reason why we can't beat the Bears at home, no less. Next, the Lions. So Lions, I can't even remember what happened to them because they were so bad. I think they went 3-13. Fired Matt Patricia. Yeah, they didn't looked like the Lions did not do good after with Matt Patricia. It was a bad decision because before that they fired a playoff coach, risking it. They went 9-7. I think they made the playoffs, but I can't remember. So they tried to risk it on Matt, and did not happen. DeAndre Swift is a good running back for fantasy owners. that's about it. Matthew Stafford is really disappearing in the NFL, but they do have a really good draft pick. But I don't really believe in just one player that could just carry the whole team. The only position that I think could carry the whole team is a QB, because it might be the QBs. Because if you matched a very bad QB for a good wide receiver, running back, tight end, and especially a good defense, because defense wins championships. If you match a bad QB, you wouldn't do as well. Throws past it would pick off, fumble, sack. Actually, that's the offensive line, but all that. But if you put a good QB against an average team, then it would be good. I don't know much about the Lions personnel. I don't know what they're looking for, but if they could secure a good draft pick, they have a chance. But right now, probably not even close. Now, let's talk about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That is ANCHOR.fm to get started. And now let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Jaguars, who is I feel like the team that could go either way, could be a very strong opponent against the Seahawks, or maybe not. It all depends on if they draft Trevor Lawrence, which I think they should, or they probably are. Then we'll see how Lawrence goes with a team that doesn't look good from the outside, but if you look inside in those pieces, then it looks good altogether. DJ Chark, a great wide receiver that did especially good in fantasy, and also James Robinson, which also was good in fantasy, but when you're good in fantasy, should be good in the NFL most of the time. So I think this could be a good game to watch, but we'll see how Trevor Lawrence, I think he decided to commit, unless he backs out the last possible second, that we'll see what happens if come good team, or they'll come back to the draft with another best pick trying to rebuild the team. Now moving on to the Titans. So the Titans have Ryan Tannehill. They've been a good team the last couple of years. They did lose barely to the Baltimore Ravens. So I think also with that team, it could go either way. Because the Titans could, I don't know much about it because I haven't seen much games, but the Titans, sometimes they're really, really good, play aggressively, then sometimes they just flop, which is why they lost against the Baltimore Ravens. I think Titans do have a pretty good chance at beating the Seahawks. But again, for every single matchup, anybody can win. It's only January. About, let's see, I can't even, 8-ish months until the season starts. A lot of things could change, like Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers. That kind of stuff. Finally, the last game of the or the last of our home games is the New Orleans Saints. So for that team, we don't know if Drew Brees is retiring. But if he decides to still play, I think it's probably going to be more of a combination of between split time between Drew Brees and Taysom Hill. Maybe if Drew Brees decides leaves, retires, probably Jameis Winston might be mixed in. But he did throw a lot of picks in Tampa Bay. Though Saints have a pretty good team on offense and a good defense as well. So this is probably going to be one of our harder matchups and one of the teams that will be very hard to beat. So that will do it with the preview. We'll get in with the other away games on Thursday's episode. So now let's talk about the championship game the college national championship game. Alabama routs Ohio State 56-24. Sorry, I don't have the scores in front of me. So I think that after that game, so after Ohio State beat Clemson in the semifinal, people were talking about how Justin Fields could move up because of that game, or it could be number one pick. But after we saw as Alabama routs Ohio State, and Fields throws a couple of picks, he could land like Aaron Rodgers. He could land outside the top 10 even. Because I don't know which team could get him that really needs a quarterback. Because the Jets could take Justin Fields, but maybe they just do that out of the Jets draft day things, as you've heard. If you've heard, the Jets have a bad record of choosing the guy that people want. So they might take Justin Fields, but they might take, or Miami will take Devonta Smith, Alabama wide receiver. He scored 3 touchdowns, 200 yards in one half. Yeah, you heard that right. One half. They sat him down for the next half. I don't remember why. Yeah, a normal NFL game probably in one half of a national championship game, of what they called a quotation marks the second best team. So as I would like to have Devonta Smith reunite with Tua Tagovailoa, he might end up on the Jets, but Jets do have a bunch of wide receivers already. I don't watch a lot of college, so I don't know who the best players are, but I don't know if there's a defensive guy the Jets might want, because they need it after the Jets could have gotten a third win against the Raiders if they hadn't, the defensive coordinator at that time made a bad call, which I think was just to rush all the players on the line. Maybe he wanted to lose, but I think he did get fired after that game because of that. So I think after that game, Heisman Trophy winner Devonta Smith probably rised up, but I don't know if he could go even further. But I think he'll end up at the second or third maybe the fourth if none of the teams want him. But I don't think he can drop below 3, as probably Miami wants him, even though Miami wants him, even though they have Devontae Parker, which is their only. I looked this up. It's their only first round pick they have since about 2012. But I don't think he'll go up to the number 1 overall, because I think the Jaguars would be a fool if they wouldn't draft Trevor Lawrence, which people think is the number 1 pick. And they do need a quarterback as well. So that will do it for the first episode of the Northwest Sports Report podcast. Make sure to check me out on YouTube for news from the Northwest and breaking news at Northwest Sports Report. And make sure to subscribe to this podcast, and you'll be able to listen to future episodes of my in-depth analysis from sports around the Northwest. We'll see you for another report. I'm Joshua Ngo, and you've been listening to the Northwest Sports Report podcast.